they can pretty well do whatever they want, as long as it's within the contiguous, you know, Kosciuszko County, Allen County. As long as they stay within that area, they don't have to pay for their gas.
Well, I've never seen one at a pump, other than
Yeah.
our own pump. I mean, I
Yeah.
never have ever. I've seen them here and there and everywhere, but never at a pump.
Yeah.
And there may be some that put some in, some gasoline. I don't know what they do.
Yeah.
But he doesn't have any receipts because I've already asked him about that.
Yeah.
But another thing then, is there any limit on the sheriff's? How far he can go with this, with the sheriff's car?
You know, it's such a tough situation when you're talking about elected officials.
I know, but I think that a sheriff should be limited to how much driving, I mean, and I don't mean how much driving, where he can go. I mean, I think there ought to be a mileage limitation, like so far from the jail, like say 50 miles or whatever, other than official business. But I'd hate to see a sheriff saying, well, I'm gonna run down to, oh, I don't know if we have any sheriffs ever have any kids in college, but we're going down and visit our son at Purdue or down to Bloomington or wherever, and get in the sheriff's car and go. I mean, I don't think that's good public policy for something like that, or to go to spend the weekend at wherever, the casinos down at French Lick, or I just don't know if that's,
Their policy right now is if
there is none.
Well, if they do that, then they're supposed to put their own gas in
And
the
I
car.
think most of them have integrity enough that they probably do, but I still don't know if that wear and tear on the car, and they're,
I
to me,
agree.
because we're not passing them down anymore, they're
No.
gonna have to get more
And
use
it's-
out of these cars than what they get now.
And it seems like we're getting rid of cars at 110,000 miles right now. And
But I wonder how many of them 110,000 miles, how much of that's been personal driving. See, I got a feeling it's a lot more than what we think, and you know, had they eliminate some of that, that they could drive them another year without any problems at all.
the good thing about this right now is we've got GPS systems in the cars, and that can be monitored.
But does anybody ever monitor it?
Well, it can be. I mean, the next step is we could do that.
But I just think that's just another area, you know, like I say, you've taken a proactive approach in a lot of things, and you're working on insurance, and which could require more employee paying out of their own paycheck, which that would affect the sheriff's department too.
Sure.
But then they've got this other perk that it seems like there's just no restraints been put on any of that, and I think, I just think that the cost of fuel nowadays is something to look at. Like I say, I'm not in favor of eliminating take-home at all, but I am kind of in favor of restricting some of this personal type driving.
Sure. Okay, we'll look into it.
I mean, I just think it's something you ought to maybe, that policy should be looked at, because, like I say, it's archaic.
Sure.
It goes back to the days of cheap fuel, and
Yeah, when it was 29 cents a gallon.
yeah,
for
you know,
fuel.
it's just never been taken care of. And not only that, there used to be just a handful of deputies, where now we've got, whatever, 12 and plus some detectives and whatnot, that it's getting to be, within the budget, it's getting to be a sizable item, this fuel expense.
Sure.
And not just the sheriff's, I'm talking about in general, the take-home vehicles.
You know, the whole system has been expanded over a period of time.
Right.
Anybody else got any questions, George? Well, thanks. Okay, moving right along, let's approve the minutes from the last meeting.
I so moved.
A second.
Moving second. Any comments? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say. Okay.
We have to approve the minutes from the library.
December 29th, because you were gone and John was gone, we didn't have enough to have a motion.
I move we approve the minutes. as
I'll
written.
second it.
Moving second, we approve those library, the minutes for the library. You stated how it should be.
I got it.
You got it,
There's
right.
4 of you here, go yay.
Pardon me?
Yay.
Go, the 4 of you that
Aye.
were there.
Yes.
All in favor? Opposed? Passed.
And then I abstain because I wasn't there.
There was only the 4 of them. So I'll take you and LaRue and over Darrell.
Okay, now, we got the fund transfers. My copies of it.
Oh, okay, well then you can just pass them down as I go. We'll do them one by one because you guys need to sign them. The first one that we need to fix is the funding that we paid out of rainy day for the $720 that that was paid out in March or April. And then the HAVA grant came in August, and we need to move the money back into rainy day from the HAVA grant.
Any questions or discussion?
I move we approve that transfer.
A second.
Move second, all in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed, same.
Then you need to sign it on that side. Do you want me to keep going while they're
Go
passing
ahead.
those down? This next one was the excess levy fund. The excess levy fund is when the, tax, dollars are not all used that we have a tax rate for. And these are actually from 2011, and we didn't need them to cover our budget for 2012. So we can move them back into county general now, for the purpose to use as normal tax dollars collected, if I'm saying that right. And there's, we can't do this until our, tax rates come in, and that's a notice from the Department of Local Government and Financing, for the extra, property tax replacement credit that was distributed.
What was the amount of this?
111,459 is the actual amount.
Okay, we have a motion for this.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and second. Any other questions or discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same.
The next one, there's not much backup to, because it was a fund that has exactly $8 in it that we're trying to do away with. That probably should have been one of the dormant funds from last year, because there's been no activity in over 5 years. But we have to make a motion to move the $8 into county general from the motor vehicle registration penalty fund.
I move.
Bill made the motion, Paul's second. Questions? All in favor, say aye.
Yeah.
Aye.
Opposed, same.
No, but I'm just kidding. I'm on.
Over $8, Jim?
This, next one is an explanation to Fund 9626, which is a grant fund that came in for the 800 MHZ rebanding. If you look at the paperwork that backs us up, the last two distributions to PED Stewart Corp., we should not have carried those through the grant, and those two amounts overdrew the amount of appropriation of the $7,010 that was given to us for funding. So if you think about it in the way that these funds would have been probably paid out of county general for that purpose, so I went ahead and took money from county general to pull that back out of the red, $243.57. And you can see the backup to that. Does anyone have any questions on that?
Do I hear a motion to approve it?
So moved.
Second.
Any other questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same.
Opposed.
Passed.
Paula, what do you think we should have done with that?
Well, I just, when it comes to these grant funds and emergency management, I think it's not so much, I'm not disputing your method, I'm disputing the fact that it was charged to the account at all.
Right, and something that I did for all the people involved in there's a GIS, the EMA has a bunch of grants, the Sheriff's Department. I made them a sheet that shows the starting amount, and I want them to list each invoice that they're paying out that, so they have a month by month thing, so when it gets close to the end, they know how much. Even if that last bill would have been $500 and they had $200 to spend, just like Mary Jane from the State Board of Accounts, they can pay the last $250 out of there and take that, and they want that reimbursable or advance grants to be zero at the end of the year if they have to expense it. And then she could have put the rest of it out of her normal county general Department 146 thing, but we need to keep an eye on them
I agree.
when they come in, so I agree. The next one is $21,995.29. and this money is from previous tax sale surplus that was not redeemed by the tax, buyers, are people who purchased them. So we had, that surplus left over. We need $135,271 to pay anyone who comes in and redeems, and we're carrying a balance of 157, which is the difference of 21,995.29. We'll have one of these for tax sale, or just normal tax. This is when we dropped 2009 off, but we don't have an amount yet. So
This goes back into county general also.
from tax sale surplus back into county general.
I so moved.
Second.
Moved and second. Discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same.
Yeah.
Anything you can get in there.
Go ahead.
The very last one, as you can see, the bill from Star Insurance for workman's comp. We didn't have a large enough appropriation to cover workman's comp paid out of the highway. So they chose to pay or move some of the calcium chloride, which is a supply, the 2000 series, over to the 33005 workers' comp to cover it for the year. And calcium chloride is the stuff that they put on the dirt roads, if I remember right. So that's where they're taking it. Are you laughing? It's not salt.
No,
I said that right.
you said it right.
Right, so they said they didn't need that, and that's a cushion account.
Has anybody, have the commissioners or Pam researched why this jumped so much? I mean, are we having a lot of injuries that are workman comp related? So I
We
know
did have
I know
last
you're
year.
doing some training on safety, that kind of thing. There's other kinds of things you can do too to speed that up, like reporting, making sure you're with a good physician for oversight, making them work, even if they're
Yes, agreeing on that.
accommodating.
With our travelers insurance too, our risk
Okay.
assessment.
I know those are things you don't have to look at until you start,
And you need a
the problems
motion.
start rising.
This year though, we've been very, knock on wood, everything has been down. We haven't had one report from yet this year.
'Cause that's quite a jump.
But,
Yeah.
but that'll last for 3 years on workman's
Right,
comp.
yeah,
Yeah,
your
it will.
history.
I started a 2014 budget for our budget changes, so I put a copy of this bill in there. And Karen will make note of it too, when they turn it in, they need to bump that up.
Okay, everybody understands this, need a motion to approve it?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Moved and second, any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same. Passed. What do I sign? Which one?
Signature, and just put council where it says department. And that cleans up pretty much all the funds. We didn't balance with the treasurer, well, we just had the month end on Friday. So maybe next month I'll bring you fund reports.
Thank you for your work on cleaning a lot of that stuff up.
I'll gather them at the end of the meeting.
I remember one.
Okay, now we get down here to discussion of the